price for ruining a good marriage." I felt fear clutch my heart as I saw his car in the driveway. What was he doing here? He had made it clear over the past few months that he wanted nothing to do with me. The last time he'd told me that if I didn't stop, he'd make me. I laughed at him. Perhaps that was a mistake. Finding him was a little harder than I thought. In fact, it took the detective 3 weeks. When I walked into the bar he'd started frequenting, I had 2 big guys from the agency with me. The look on his face was priceless. We'd had a pretty heated conversation the last time we'd been there, and the expression, "cheater from down under," seemed to be his favorite. I was very uncomfortable, as the affair took place in one of the best places I frequented, and he was quite rowdy. I never went there again. Why couldn't he realize I was just trying to help him? Yes, his wife had cheated. Yes, I felt guilty, because I had entertained her with the details of my affairs, even encouraged her to have her first one, telling her how exciting it was, and she was enjoying every minute of it. So much so that she was already on her 3rd lover when he caught her. God, it was just sex. She wasn't going to leave him. None of them were permanent. None of them were a threat to him. She'd been doing it for a year, and he had no idea. Come on, look at me. I couldn't even remember how many lovers I'd had since I married my 3rd husband. Even though I'd had fun with younger guys who had nicer bodies, better stamina, and more fantasy, I always came home to him, always gave him as much as he wanted. I loved making love to my husband. He was kind, gentle, and did everything I asked him to do. The only time I turned him down was when I had just made love and I was too loose. Look, Todd, I know you don't really like me right now, but... That was all I managed to get out before the sludge from what he was drinking left on me. My guards started to move, but I waved them off. I asked the bartender for a towel, and he gave me a cold look before holding it out. I hoped it was clean, since this place was an order of magnitude above diving. Why don't we try it again? I need to tell you. What you need to do is get your body away from me. What part of this don't you understand? I don't want anything to do with you anymore. It's your fault I lost my wife. People started staring. I tried to get him to a table, but he sat back in his seat. I'm sorry. Is everything okay? I know I've been filling his head with ideas he shouldn't have. Why do you think I'm trying so hard to get you 2 back together? I feel terrible about it. Yes, indeed. They loved each other so much, at least when I met them. The game wasn't going to change anything, at least not until he knew about it. She was devastated, wanted him back, and was really mad at me. I promised him that I would make things right. Do you feel terrible? You have no idea what awful feels like, but I promise you this. Keep having sex with me and you'll know what horror really is. Now get out of here! I started to respond when the bartender interjected into the conversation. Ma'am, you need to leave. You need to leave right now. I can't have you coming in here and disturbing my customers. And please, next time you need a drink, don't stop here. I was flabbergasted. He was kicking me out of this dump. Was he? Now look here. He dialed a few numbers on the phone he held in his hand. Yeah, this is Joe, from the Hole. I've got a woman here acting belligerent, disturbing my customers, and she refuses to leave. No, I don't think she's drunk. You guys know I usually handle this sort of thing myself, but this is a woman, and she looks like she likes to sue people, so I'd appreciate your help. It must have been a rough night because the cops were there within 2 minutes. The woman quietly asked me to leave, and when I refused, took my hand. Here's your choice. You can leave here, and we'll let you leave. You will fight me. I will handcuff you, arrest you, and take you to jail, let you post bail, and all of this will be made public. You need to decide right now. I really couldn't afford the publicity or explain to hubby what I was doing here, so I left. This isn't over, I hissed at him as I was led outside. Oh yes, it is over. I've reached my limit. You push me one more time and I'll push back hard. Do you hear that? Officer, he just threatened me. Maybe I heard something, maybe I didn't. What about you, Daryl? The big cop looked at her. He didn't smirk. Maybe ask her if she wants to file a report. I couldn't do that, so I declined. By then, we were already outside. "Ma'am, go home. I don't know the circumstances, but he wants nothing to do with you. My advice is to leave him alone. Oh, and you're not allowed on the grounds. Come back and we'll arrest you. Now, good night somewhere else." What good was money if there was no use for it? This was definitely not the end. I tried again. Even had the guys hold him up so I could make my case. One seemed to trip while reaching for him, and Todd punched the other. Needless to say, there wasn't a single intelligent conversation that night. The only thing he said was that I had gone too far, and now it was all on me. He left before I could ask what he meant. After that, Todd pretty much disappeared, quit his job, moved, and left no address. The detectives hit a stone wall when they talked to his family and friends. Each told a different story. He was out of the country. He was right down the next street. He was in Texas, Canada, Maine, Mexico. Most just asked who wanted to know and told them to go away. And here he was, in my driveway. Fear pinched my heart as I walked into the house. "Honey, do we have company?" I called out, hoping to catch a quiet moment. "We're here on the patio." I stepped out, admiring the view. He'd put a lot of money into it. The patio ran down to a hot tub and pool that looked like it was about to tear down the hill and cascade into another pool 12 feet below. I had fond memories of this waterfall. At least 3 of my lovers had made love to me under it, on the little ledge I had built. Good thing hubby travels a lot. It's also good that I had sex with the head of our security company and hooked up a switch that only I knew about. If you flipped it, it played empty rooms and scenery. Can't be too careful, right? Todd was the only one who spoke. He was applying ice to a large bruise on my husband's cheek and eye, which was swollen shut. His shirt was nearly ripped and riddled with blood. "Hey, Marge, remember I told you last time you got tired of meddling in my life that there would be consequences? Well, you didn't listen. I'll tell you what. From now on, every time you mess with me, I'll get revenge on someone close to you, and then I'll tell them why I did it. Harold is a lot tougher than I thought. All that gym time has certainly taken its toll. And he can box, too. Who'd have thought it?" He let go of the ice pack and patted Harold on the shoulder. "Don't feel bad, Harold. When I was young, they didn't have MMA like they do now. They had what they called tough guy competitions. You paid an entry fee and the last man standing won. In those days, we fought for peanuts, usually got $1,000 or $2. Still, I was good enough to pay for my education and have some money to start my life. And you're not the only one who likes to keep fit. So even if I'm 50, I can still get fit when I need to. I'm truly sorry I got you into this." "Marge, you have 2 brothers, right? And I think your father is still around. I think he's in his late 70s, so he'll be the last one. And the more you push, the harder I'll hit. Have we reached an understanding? You can't come into my house and attack my husband and threaten my family and think you can get away with it. I'm calling the police, now." My threat didn't seem to frighten him. "Why don't you do just that? If Harold doesn't mind, I'll get us a couple beers while you make the call. Who knows when I'll get another drink? Go ahead, call. I won't try to justify what I did, but I will explain why and what caused it when I go to court. And then it will be public knowledge. After all, they say confession is good for the soul. Then make the call. And just so you know, as soon as I get out, I'll start all over again, and I'll be a lot less inclined to be gentle." I couldn't call, and he knew it perfectly well. If I had called, the whole sordid mess would have come out. One of his wife's lovers was an old lover of mine, and 2 of them were married. My first 2 divorces had taught me that saving yourself can throw anyone under the bus. And Harold started throwing funny looks at me. I dropped the phone. "Okay, you asshole. Get out of here right now and it's over. You'll never see or hear from me again, I swear. Now get out." "Okay, you don't have to yell. You know none of this would be necessary if you would just leave me alone. Harold, I apologize, and I was glad to meet you, under the circumstances. You're a pretty tough old bird when it comes to business. If you ever need a friend in tight circles, look me up. Send a message through the bartender at the hole, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Marge, walk me out. I noticed the look in my husband's eyes as I walked back into the house. It was a good thing I had a degree in public relations, not that I'd have to use those skills for years. We walked over to his truck. I'd be glad to get that pile of junk out of the way. He climbed in and handed me 3 manila folders, each stuffed to the brim. You should have left me alone, Marge. Give these to Christy. Tell her it's fair, and if she resists, I'll call the names of all her lovers and make them testify. This is North Carolina, and we still have alienation of affection laws. I won't accomplish anything, but it will piss them off, especially the married ones. These, he said, are yours. I had to take a draft out of retirement, but it was worth it. It's got dates, pictures, names, and places. Marge, you're just an arrogant cheater. None of this has slowed you down one bit. Nice breasts, by the way, even if they are store-bought. Here's the thing. You go in the house, right now, this very minute, and you confess to Harold. You don't have to go into detail, because he'll definitely dump you. Just tell him you cheated and ask him to forgive you. If you don't, and I'll know, trust me. I'll send another copy of this to Harold at his office. That's the price for ruining a good marriage. In a way, I hope Harold forgives you and you turn into a real wife. He deserves that. I just stood in the driveway for an eternity, watching his taillights disappear before I locked the files in the car and went back into the house to confess my sins and hope he'd forgive me. He didn't forgive, of course. And that's where the prenup he made me sign came into play. In the end, he was more generous than he should have been, giving me $200,000 and a new $60,000 car. I moved in with Christy, more to survive than anything else. I had to put up with that fool crying every night for 6 months. Todd was good to her, even more than she said she deserved. She got a house worth about $450,000, her 2-year-old car, and a lump sum she never discussed with me. We didn't really love each other anymore, but it was better than living alone. I sold my expensive car and bought a small Ford to build up my share. I wasn't going to go out to work. It was my war chest to hold out until I found husband number 4. Eventually, I talked Christy into joining me at the country club, a proven hunting ground. She had little interest in lying by the pool and took up golf, becoming quite good at it. I couldn't fully understand why I lay by the pool in my most modest outfit without looking flashy, and the guys who hung out with me completely ignored me when she walked off the course in those short golf outfits. For some reason, she always wore shorts with a skirt, and she had great legs. It made her look much younger than her 45 years. I slept with every single, and a few married, guys my age. They would wine and dine me. We would end up at their house or hotel where they would have sex with me, but after 2 or 3 dates, they would leave. It had been almost a year, my funds were running low, and I was no closer to my new husband than I was then. I had pretty much gone through all the eligible men in the club by now. Perhaps it was time to change memberships. Then I received a series of shocks. Christy finally recovered from losing Todd and started dating a club professional. I realized they were serious when she started babysitting his 2 kids while he worked. God, how I hated kids. They learned pretty early on to avoid me, especially on weekends. One evening, she stopped me on my way out and asked for a moment to talk. Marge, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to move out. You don't need to rush. Take a month or so. Brad and I have decided to live together to see if it can go any farther. I love him and adore his kids. He loves me too, but before I made up my mind, I told him the whole story of how I lost Todd. It shook him up so much that we didn't see each other for 3 weeks. You should have heard me crying during that time. It took a lot, but one day at dinner, he told me that he thought I was worth the risk. I'll die before I hurt another man as much as Todd did, and he knows your role in my downfall, so you have to go. And Marge, don't expect phone calls or date nights after you leave. He's made it clear that if he's going to be in my life, you're not. I wouldn't worry, Marge. You're like a cat. You'll always land on your feet. Marge Monthly. Silly, silly girl. He probably made at most 60 a year, and he had 2 kids. What was she thinking? I was starting to get desperate, so I expanded my parameters. I had just slept with a 60-year-old man. He was bald, fat, and worthless in bed, but he had some positive qualities. He was rumored to be worth about $10 million. I let the poor guy rest for a while. I didn't want to kill the golden goose after all, and then I had sex with him. It took me 20 minutes to cheer him up. You know, Roger, I'm very attracted to you. I've always had a thing for strong, handsome men. You know, if I shared this apartment with you, I'd be available 24 hours, 7 days a week. I paused. Then I made love to him, and then he stroked my head like a dog and fell asleep. I got up in disgust, brushed my teeth, and settled down next to him, snuggling against him and making sure his hand was on me. In the morning, I asked him if he'd thought about my offer. He laughed. "Number, you're a great woman for your age, Marge, but I've got 2 20-year-old girls in separate apartments right now, just waiting for me to call. And frankly, you've grown up a bit, and you've been worked on so much that I'm afraid to let you anywhere near an open fire." I grabbed my clothes in a rage as he laughed. I'm sure the rest of the club doesn't share such a low opinion of me. He laughed even louder. "As a matter of fact, Marge, they do share it. Did it ever occur to you that when you showed up unexpectedly, we didn't check you out? You're a 3-time loser, baby, and no one wants losers. We even made a game out of it. There's a grease board on the wall of the men's locker room. We kept score, and the only people you didn't have sex with were the ones who turned you down or the hired help. And I hear we're going to have to change that. Your coach, right? He can't be more than 25. I hate to tell you this, but he's apparently started to see you as a threat since you've gone through all the bachelors. If I were you, I'd leave before you get kicked out so you can join someone else." I was shocked and humiliated. I was destroyed. Then I pulled myself together. I was still attractive. I could still get a man. Really, it was time to go a little lower. Maybe a nice mid-level guy with a decent house. Yeah, that would be the thing. I quit the club after scraping together enough money to join one of the lower clubs after being turned down on my first 2 options. It was in the middle of nowhere, but that only improved my chances. 2 weeks later, I went in there to clean out my locker. The parking lot was so crowded that I could barely find a place to park. There must be some big event today. And then I saw a woman in her 40s, seemingly plain but dressed decently, get out of a minivan with 2 teenage children. They were carrying a wedding dress, and she was standing off to the side. So it was a wedding. I paused, remembering all 3 of mine, terribly expensive. I loved each one. She'd been inside for about 20 minutes when I heard the music. Unable to resist, I stood at the door to watch, as did a few other people from the club, while we waited for the service to start, talking in whispers. "Yeah, he's a member of the club, has been for years, but I've never seen him. He's a nice old man. I heard his ex-wife was a cheater, got caught, and he kicked her out. I heard he's mega rich and his fiancée didn't have a dime. She even has a couple kids, a boy of 12 and a girl of 13. They think he hung the moon, call him daddy and all that. Heard he's never had kids, and he takes great care of them. He even remodeled his pool for them, taking out the waterfall and putting in a slide. They'll do just fine." The music started up, drowning us out. The bride actually looked good in her dress, and with her hair done, her makeup was flawless. We couldn't see the groom because their backs were turned. My heart jumped to my throat. Harold! And standing next to him was that asshole Todd. I didn't even remember doing it. The next thing I knew, the security guys had me on the ground while I was shouting profanities about how badly I was going to punish everyone in the wedding party. The bride stood over me with a shocked expression on her face. Harold rushed over to her, put his arms around her, and looked down at her. His eyes widened, and suddenly he started laughing and roaring. He summoned Todd and whispered in his bride's ear as he approached her. Soon they were laughing, and the others, infected by their apparent glee, joined in. The laughter was the last thing I heard as I was thrown into the patrol car. I was arrested for trespassing, assault, attempted assault, disorderly conduct, They wanted to charge me with alcohol. I had had a few martinis at the bar, but I only had .06. They processed me and set my bail at $25,000. I didn't have that kind of money. I barely had enough to pay 10% interest to the bail bondsman. I called Christy from the only call I was allowed. She didn't show up until the next day. I started to complain about everything, but she interrupted me. "Shut up. You're lucky I'm even here. You have no idea how uncomfortable I felt when I got off the line and saw my ex and yours standing there." It was pretty embarrassing, I'll tell you that. Eventually, I figured out why they were there and what had happened. Todd was very nice to me, and I felt awkward when the bride walked up. He just smiled a sad smile and congratulated us. He then introduced me to a very petite red-haired girl. She and her 4-year-old daughter had been living with him for 6 months. My heart skipped a beat when her little miniature replica ran up to him, called him Daddy, and giggled when he picked her up in his arms. "We all had a drink at the bar and buried the past. We wished each other well, and we both meant it." Yeah, it's all very touching. I'm glad you had your moment. You can tell me all the details when you get me out of here." She flinched as if I'd slapped her, then smiled. "Bad news, I'm afraid. After your antics last night, Brad put me in front of a choice. You or him, and he expected a decision right now. I rented a storage unit, and last night we moved all your stuff in there. It was easy. You don't have much stuff anyway. I left the key with the duty officer. It will be in your personal belongings when you get them. I'm sorry things turned out this way for you, Marge. My only advice is please try to learn from your mistakes. Goodbye, Marge." I was about to yell at her when I saw the matron looking at me, and I squeezed my eyes shut. What was I going to do now? The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.